Hello and welcome. This is Bree Stedman, host of Own Your BS, the podcast, where your negative head talk and the bullshit stories you tell yourself become irrelevant, and solution focus creates a path of emotional confidence, clarity, and control. Hello and welcome to episode number 19 of Own Your BS, the podcast. Is now the right time? Can I trust myself to make the right decision? Maybe I should ask so-and-so for their opinion. Maybe I should wait until next year before I start that thing I really want to start. Because next year, it'll be a brand new year. 2018 hasn't been so great for me, so why start something now and run the risk that it's going to be tainted with the 2018 curse? It's not really going to matter if I wait a little bit longer. I'll be in a better position later. I'll be able to afford it better. I'll be able to really engage in that program more. I'll get more benefit if I wait. Making a decision in your life is often one of the hardest things to do. It can cause you to feel doubt, insecure, second guess yourself, or it can give you leverage to feel confident and courageous and brave. So how do you know when the right time is? A few episodes ago, I introduced you to visualization, a strategy that you can use to help you inspire movement forward. And I want to revisit that now, because I bet there is something in your life that you keep putting off. There is a decision that you need to make that you can't, because you keep getting caught up in all of the what ifs. So I want to introduce you to the ideal scenario of what is possible if you just make the decision. If you choose now as the moment to move forward. So it starts by closing your eyes. And I want you to float out into the moment where the decision has been made and the outcome, that ideal desired outcome that you have, has been met. This outcome is now your reality. And as you float down into this moment, I want you to look through your eyes and see this new reality. See the colours, notice how bright and vivid they are, or how soft and gentle they may appear. I want you to pay attention to the noises that you can hear in this reality. Who are you with? What are they saying to you? What are you saying to them? What are you saying to yourself? And most importantly, what are you feeling in that moment when this ideal outcome, because of that decision that you made, what are you feeling? Now, when is the right decision to make that choice? Based on that image that you have created, that potential possibility, when is the right decision? It's now, isn't it? So what causes us from instinctively just following what we know we should be doing? Our head, our doubts, our insecurities, and our fears. When we listen to our head, we get caught up. We get caught up in excuses and we get caught up in the what ifs. When we listen to our heart and our guts, often decisions become so much simpler. And this is particularly true for women because we are connected to our intuition and to our heart 25% more than men. So why don't we listen to our heart? Because it doesn't always make sense. But when we really think about it, neither do our heads. For every conscious thought you have, there are two parts of your brain that support those thoughts. And this is why we often get trapped in negative thinking. in doubting ourselves, in not being able to make decisions. Because when we have a conscious thought, the thought is passed through something in the brain called a reticular activating system. Now, the reticular activating system is kind of like a spider's web. It lets through only the key messages that are triggered by the strong thoughts that are generally connected to the strong emotions. And this is why I keep harping on and why it is so important for you to identify what you are thinking and what you are feeling in the moments that you get stuck. Because both the thought and the feeling are connected. Now, this thought and feeling passes through the reticular activating system into the unconscious mind. And your unconscious mind is like a genie in a bottle. It is always going to prove your conscious thoughts right. So when you are thinking negatively and when you are feeling negatively, you are going to see experiences and evidence in your external world that prove those thoughts right. Now, I can give you an example of this in action with something that's a little bit more neutral to prove that whether the thought is negative, positive, or otherwise, the thought is right because your unconscious mind supports every thought that you have. So I want you now to think about the last car that you purchased. And I want you to remember the day that you decided on what particular car it was that you were buying, the make, the model, even the colour that you selected on that day that you bought that car. And I want you to think about now, as you were driving home from the car yard, how many cars of the same make, model and colour did you come across? Whereas the week before, you maybe only saw one or two. I can all but guarantee the day you picked up that car, you came across a number of the exact same make, model and colour as the car that you just purchased. And possibly in the weeks that followed, because the car was still new, so you were focusing on how great it was to drive that particular make, model and colour of car, you likely came across a number of them on your travels. This is your reticular activating system and unconscious mind at work. It listened to the conscious thought of this is my car, this is the make, this is the model, this is the colour, and it fed that information through the reticular activating system into the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind heard that message and then said, oh, she's focusing on that car, that make, that model, that colour. Let's show her that these cars do in fact exist. And so what you thought was quite a unique choice actually turns out to be quite common because your unconscious mind proves it so. For every thought you have, your unconscious mind is going to support it. So when you second guess that decision that you need to make, when you start thinking about the what ifs, the doubts, the fears, the insecurities, you are going to be supported by that with your unconscious mind. And this is why you start remembering similar decisions that you struggled with, outcomes that didn't go your way when you made choices, when you listened to the logic instead of following your heart. This is why you get stuck in procrastination, in not moving forward, because your unconscious mind is listening to your thoughts, and your thoughts, when they are indecisive, are going to bounce between all of the possible options. So your unconscious mind is going to consistently support this indecisiveness. So how do we break that habit? Firstly, shut up the logic head. All of the pros and cons lists in the world are not going to always help you to make the decision. What is always going to be your absolute best guidance system is your heart, is the way that those decisions make you feel. So the next time you have a choice that you are struggling with making, I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to imagine the ideal outcome if you make that choice. If there's more than one alternative, imagine every single alternative, always paying attention to what do these alternatives make me feel. And then start developing the trust within yourself to listen to your heart. Because when you do, that strong emotional charge has the ability to neutralize all of those negative fears and doubts and concerns that you have. And if you find that this negative head talk continues to reoccur, then this is just more proof that you need to neutralize that negative shit, to simplify your life. Because ultimately that's what happens. When you skill yourself up to neutralize negative thoughts, you simplify your life. Because everything can come down to what makes me feel good right now and what am I going to do to honor that. Thank you so much for joining me for episode number 19 of Own Your BS, the podcast. Join me again next week as we start to explore the Groundhog Day experience. We're going to break apart the stuck in the rut habit that you may be in, and I'm going to show you some ways that you can create new habits, new thought patterns, to allow yourself to open up to a whole new zone of experiencing your life. Have an amazing week, and I'll talk to you then